Welcome to the channel. My name is Matthias. Today we're going to talk about New Mutants issues 90 to 91, where we have a pretty awesome showdown between Caliban and Sabertooth. Both characters have a lot of history together. Victor Creed was part of the Marauders who embarked on the Mutant Massacre, killing off almost all of the Morlocks and almost killing Caliban himself. This would push Caliban to seek Apocalypse and become a Horseman, gaining a crazy power upgrade, and I think he became the Horseman Death for a while. Then he shifted into being the Horseman Plague. But the thing is, I've always loved this version of this character and the tragic nature of Caliban himself. So without further ado, let's get into the story. So the story starts off with Sabertooth hunting down the last remnants of the Morlocks, but he's completely oblivious to the fact that he's being hunted by Caliban. So I do want to make the observation that back in the day, Sabertooth physically was a very different character. He was not as big and bulky as they illustrate him nowadays. I really like this version that we get from Rob Liefeld, but I like even more how Liefeld draws Caliban. He looks really awesome in this story. While this is going down, we have the New Mutants, who are almost X-Force at this time. They're being led by Cable, reestablish themselves in the X-Mansion. The mansion itself has been destroyed, but they're living in the lower levels. So now we have Cable pushing the team to work as a unit, and they all have to have sort of like matching costumes. So the costumes that they get are the ones that you're going to see later on in X-Force. So we have Cable loving the Danger Room. He sends the New Mutants in there immediately to train. Also, an interesting thing that we see with Cable, he's using Cerebro. So here they're possibly hinting at the fact that Cable might be a telepath. Because I have to mention that during this time, Cable was presented as a new character, that he was a mutant, but his powers were not clear at all for a really long time. So the thing is that Richter, who's on the team, really doesn't like Cable. He thinks that Cable's responsible for the death of his father. Also, Richter's really not down with the training methods of Cable. The sessions in the Danger Room are just too much for him. This leads to Richter quitting the New Mutants and immediately just abandons the team. He goes into the Morlock tunnels. So now we have Richter wandering around the Morlock tunnels, and he crosses paths with Sabertooth. He doesn't realize that he's way in over his head. But Richter is saved in the nick of time when Caliban jumps into the scene, and we get a battle between Cal and Sabertooth. While this is going down, the New Mutants realize that Richter had gone AWOL. They go into the Morlock tunnels to save their teammate. So when Cable and company finally find Richter, they come across this titanic battle between Caliban and Sabertooth. And at the same time, Masque, this evil Morlock, one of the other few survivors who has a group of minions, also bursts onto the scene, and we get this four-way battle between the New Mutants, Masque's crew, Caliban, and Sabertooth. And then we get this really badass moment where Caliban just tells everyone to back off, and he just kills Sabertooth right in front of everyone. He breaks Victor Creed's back. Back during this time, it was established that he had a healing factor, but we didn't know how strong it was at that moment, so it was possible that he was killed in this story. Obviously he wasn't, and he actually comes back later on in the Wolverine ongoing series. Right when I started collecting comic books, that was one of the first comic books I ever got, was Wolverine fighting Sabertooth in the Morlock tunnels, where Cable also guest stars in that series because he goes back into the Morlock tunnels to make sure that Victor Creed is dead. So Richter gets rescued, he's taken back to the X-Mansion, and the really weird thing is that he keeps on mentioning that Cable is tied to the death of his father, and Cable actually never addresses this. It's so odd. Obviously, later on, we're going to discover that Strife is Cable's clone, and Strife is the one responsible, but at this moment, Cable just does not talk about this issue. Like, Cable never stops to say, hey, Rick, look, I didn't kill your dad. It might be mistaken identity, whatever, but it's just so weird. So I'm going to leave this video here. I hope you guys liked it. See you guys next time. Bye.